Democracy is a beautiful, messy, and often frustratingly complicated thing. What a dowel is. To keep this whole enterprise from collapsing into a pile of particle board and tears, you need a watchdog. Historically, that watchdog has been investigative journalism. These are the people who, for centuries, have been tasked with the noble and frankly thankless job of asking powerful people questions they absolutely do not want to answer. They are the ones who peek behind the curtain to see if the great and powerful Oz is just a man pulling levers. The entire concept of a free press was built on this idea. It wasn't just so people could have something to read with their morning coffee, it was a fundamental check on power. From the early muckrakers exposing the horrific conditions in meatpacking plants, yes, literally showing people what was in their sausage, to the legendary reporters who followed a seemingly minor break-in all the way to the White House, journalism has been the mechanism for accountability. It's the societal equivalent of your friend pulling you aside at a party to say, "Hey, I don't think that guy is really a Nigerian prince with a vast fortune he needs your help to unlock." It's a vital, necessary service. Without these reporters digging into the weeds, power would operate in the dark, and darkness is where bad ideas and corruption thrive. It's where decisions that affect millions are made without public knowledge or consent. Investigative journalists are the ones who turn on the lights, often revealing a scene that is far less glamorous and far more troubling than what the people in charge would have you believe. They are the professional skeptics, the ones who hear a politician promise a chicken in every pot and immediately ask to see the poultry budget, the farm locations, and the veterinary inspection reports. This role is not about being cynical for the sake of it, it's about being diligent for the sake of everyone else. It's about understanding that power, by its very nature, will always try to protect and expand itself. The natural inclination of any government, corporation, or powerful institution is to control its own narrative, to present the rosiest picture possible. Investigative journalism is the essential counterbalance to that impulse. It provides the public with an alternative narrative, one that is often messier and more complex but is grounded in facts, documents, and verifiable sources, ensuring the public gets more than just the official story. For a long time, when you thought of investigative journalism, you probably pictured a reporter in a trench coat meeting a source in a parking garage to expose a classic case of political corruption. And yes, that still happens, because unfortunately, politicians accepting briefcases full of cash is a trope for a reason. But the field has expanded dramatically. The modern watchdog is now sniffing around a much wider range of kennels. Today's investigative journalism is just as likely to be focused on systemic societal issues as it is on a single corrupt official. It's about the why just as much as the who. Journalists now spend months, sometimes years, digging into incredibly complex topics that don't fit into a neat little box. They investigate environmental crises, showing how corporate negligence leads to poisoned water supplies or deforestation. They expose deep-seated problems within our healthcare systems, revealing how insurance companies deny life-saving treatments for profit. They look at social justice issues, uncovering patterns of systemic bias in policing, housing, or the legal system. These stories don't always have a single, cartoonish villain to point a finger at. Often the villain is the system itself, a far more complicated and difficult beast to slay. This evolution is crucial because it reflects a more mature understanding of how the world works. A single corrupt mayor is a problem, absolutely. But a housing policy that systematically discriminates against entire communities for decades? That is a catastrophe on a completely different scale. By broadening their scope, journalists are helping the public see the bigger picture. They connect the dots between seemingly isolated incidents to reveal underlying patterns of failure, neglect, or deliberate harm. It's the difference between catching one person cheating at cards and exposing that the entire deck was marked from the start. This requires a new level of expertise and dedication. A reporter investigating the financial industry needs to understand derivatives better than most bankers. Someone covering a public health crisis needs to be able to read scientific papers and interview epidemiologists. The work has become more specialized, more data-driven, and frankly, more difficult. But the payoff is immense. These investigations provide the public with the crucial context needed to understand the root causes of major societal problems, moving the conversation beyond simple blame games and toward a more meaningful discussion about real systemic change. It's not just about who did what, but how our systems allowed it to happen. Now let's talk about the giant blinking data hoarding elephant in the room technology. The internet has completely and utterly transformed journalism in ways both fantastic and terrifying. On one hand, technology has handed investigative reporters a set of superpowers. They can access vast databases, analyze massive troves of leaked documents, and use satellite imagery to track deforestation or verify the location of a bombing. A reporter can now do from their desk what would have taken a team of researchers months to accomplish just a few decades ago. It's a golden age for finding the needle in the digital haystack. The ability to collaborate globally is another game changer. Investigations like the Panama Papers or the Pandora Papers involved hundreds of journalists from dozens of countries working together in secret. They shared information, coordinated their research, and published their findings simultaneously around the world. This would have been logistically impossible in the pre-internet era. Technology allows for the creation of a global network of accountability, making it much harder for the powerful to hide their assets or their misdeeds by simply moving them to another country. The world for them has gotten a little bit smaller and a lot more transparent. However, it's not all sunshine and encrypted hard drives. The same technology that empowers journalists also presents new and formidable challenges. The digital age has decimated the traditional business model for news, leading to budget cuts, layoffs, and the closure of newsrooms across the country. It's incredibly difficult to fund a year-long investigation when you're competing for clicks with cat videos and celebrity gossip. The pressure for speed and constant content can also work against the slow, methodical pace that good investigative work requires. It's a constant battle between the deep and the immediate. Furthermore, the digital world is a dangerous place for reporters. Governments and powerful entities can now use sophisticated surveillance tools to spy on journalists, track their sources, and hack their accounts. The very act of communicating with a whistleblower is fraught with digital peril. At the same time, misinformation and disinformation can spread like wildfire online, making it easier for bad actors to discredit legitimate reporting or drown it out with a flood of noise. So while technology has given journalists a powerful new toolkit, it has also turned the landscape into a minefield. So, does all this effort actually matter? Does all this digging and data crunching and source protecting lead to anything? The answer is a resounding, thunderous yes. Recent history is filled with examples of groundbreaking investigative journalism that has had a massive, tangible impact on society. These aren't just stories that get people talking, they are stories that get laws changed, criminals prosecuted, and systemic injustices brought to light. They are the ultimate proof of concept for why this work is so indispensable for a functioning democracy. Take, for instance, the investigations into the opioid crisis. Reporters from various outlets spent years meticulously documenting how pharmaceutical companies aggressively and deceptively marketed addictive painkillers, while distributors flooded communities with billions of pills. This wasn't just a story, it was a mountain of evidence. It led to congressional hearings, landmark legal settlements costing companies billions of dollars, and a fundamental shift in public understanding of the addiction epidemic. It showed that the crisis wasn't just a series of individual bad choices, but the result of calculated corporate greed. That is a truly monumental impact. Then you have pieces that expose wrongdoing in the highest echelons of power. Look at the reporting on financial scandals like the work that uncovered systematic money laundering through major international banks. These stories, based on leaked documents and exhaustive financial tracing, have led to massive fines, new regulations, and criminal investigations across the globe. They hold accountable not just individuals but entire industries that believed they were above the law. When journalists can make a global bank with trillions in assets sweat, you know they are providing an essential service to the public. Ultimately, this is the core mission of investigative journalism, to hold power accountable. It's not about bringing people down, it's about holding them up to the light. Whether it's a local newspaper exposing corruption in the city council, or an international consortium revealing a global tax evasion scheme, the principle is the same. They are presenting the public with the facts, the receipts if you will, and allowing society to demand change. In an era of intense polarization and widespread mistrust, this fact-based, unflinching pursuit of the truth is more important than it has ever been. It is, and will remain, the essential, non-negotiable immune system of democracy.